Joining us, co-host of the Prof G Markets podcast, Ed Elson, and Ray Madoff, professor at Boston College Law School, also the author of the book, The Second Estate, How the Tax Code Made an American Aristocracy. Perfect person to talk about this. All right, debate Jeff Bezos on raising his taxes, not helping anybody. That's his position. What's yours?
Yeah, well, I think that Jeff Bezos is really misleading the American public here. First of all, the amount of wealth controlled by the wealthiest Americans so far outstrips the size of the U.S. federal budget that it's astronomical. Total budget that we spend, $7 trillion. We had a $2 trillion shortfall, and the amount owned by the richest 1% is $55 trillion. So it matters to all of us if that richest Americans are paying taxes.
Does it make it better, Ed, if Bezos is also saying the bottom third of Americans should not, the bottom 50%, should not be paying any taxes?
Kind of, but not really. It's a little bit cheap. I mean, I thought the interview was fascinating, but to me, all I saw was a whole lot of misdirection. I mean, Andrew asked him why the 400 richest Americans are paying a lower tax rate than the average American, which is true, by the way. It's 24% versus 30%. And his response was, oh, I do pay a lot of taxes. But of course, that doesn't answer the question of the tax rate. He also asked him this question about this buy, borrow, die strategy, where these billionaires never sell their assets. They borrow against them instead, never triggering a taxable event, to which Bezos says, oh, well, I don't do that, which again doesn't answer the question. And this is the problem that we have with these billionaires right now. They don't want to have the conversation. They don't want to talk about the fact that wealth inequality is reaching a breaking point, or the fact that the top 1% now controls more wealth than the entire middle class. They just want to keep kicking this can down the road. And that's what he did in that interview. And I can tell you right now, there's only so much more kicking that we can do, because I do believe, and as Ray has pointed out, we're reaching something of a tipping point here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair to say. In 2011, we were talking about the tax leak. Donald Trump got caught up in some of this later on. 2011, confidential IRS records revealed that billionaire Jeff Bezos received the $4,000 child tax credit, $1,000 per child. And he was legally eligible because his on-paper taxable income was unusually low that year. So billionaire Jeff Bezos took a child tax credit. I didn't take the child tax credit that year.
Absolutely. And he took it because he keeps his salary artificially low, because he knows that, salaries are for suckers. People who earn money, people who have to work for a living, are subject to a very burdensome tax system. Meanwhile, people who get by with investments and inheritances, people like Jeff Bezos and others, for them, taxes are optional.
So why are they so against? I mean, we hear like Warren Buffett say, raise the tax rate, I'm happy to pay more. But why are they so against just paying more, putting more money on paper and saying, I am happy to give more? There is so much money there. Yeah. Why are they so scared of losing it?
Well, I can't say. I mean, of course, nobody wants to pay taxes. The problem is that our system is systematically biased in favor of the wealthy. And what I resent is not whether Jeff Bezos pays taxes under our current system or not, but that the fact that he is willfully misleading the American public about the nature of our tax system. And he does so by referring to this statistic that seems to make it seem like he's paying a lot of taxes. So there's this statistic that he said in that interview. He said the top 1% pay 40% of the income taxes, which is a statistic that is true.
Yeah.
However, it is highly misleading because it is referring to those with the top 1% of income, high income earners, high paid lawyers, bankers, financial people, doctors, high salaried people are paying all of the taxes. And the problem is that our richest Americans avoid taxes by avoiding taxable income.
So the highest earners are paying, what, like a 50% effective tax rate,
yeah,
depending on where you live in the country?
Absolutely.
What state and city you are and how expensive those places are. Yeah. But Jeff Bezos,
he can pay zero. And the fact that he occasionally decides to sell stock and pays his 20% tax, like, he wants to be patted on the head for that. But the real situation, the real problem is that it is optional for him to do so.
I tease this. I want to talk or play Jeff Bezos talking about this version, this administration of Donald Trump, Trump 2.0.
think he has. I mean, I'm comparing him to his first term, and I think he is a more mature, more disciplined version of himself than he was in his first term. I'm on the side of America, and that is so important. Like, and that's where business leaders should be. It's just.
And do you think they're not?
No, I think we are, but we get perceived as being like, partisan or whatever. Like, I was helping Obama every chance I could. I was helping Biden every chance I could. I still call Obama for advice. He's a very smart guy. And, and by the way, people that are, Trump has lots of good ideas, and he's been right about a lot of things. You have to give him credit where credit is due.
More mature, more disciplined. Ed, where's the credit that we're not giving Donald Trump?
That was the moment where Jeff Bezos really lost me. I actually used to respect him. I respect his business mind. And on my show, we talk a lot about what he's done right. But that was where he really lost me. You cannot make the argument that this president is a more measured version of himself than he was in the past. There's nothing to indicate that. He is completely unconstrained. We've seen what he's been doing with the IRS. He has essentially barred himself from ever being investigated into his tax fraud or tax crimes. So there's a big problem right there. This idea that he's suddenly a calmer version of himself is simply not true. And the reason that Bezos is doing it is because he needs to get on his good side. He's doing it for his shareholders, really. He's doing it for Amazon, but ultimately he's doing it for himself. He's doing it for his own wealth. So you cannot make that argument. That was the point where I realized, okay, this is not a good faith argument. This doesn't make any sense at all.
All right. Ed, really good to have you. Ray, really good to have you. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations on the honor.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.